All right, we are now live. First week of college football is underway. We took a little hiatus. We're back. Georgia, Clemson, probably the biggest game this week. I'm sure people would say A&M and Notre Dame, right?
Yep.
Um,
Florida, Miami.
Florida, Miami. That's at 3:30. I still think though that this Clemson Georgia game is probably the biggest. Um, So let's just get into it. The first thing is ETN. The biggest question, probably whenever you see this, which will be like Thursday or Friday. This is being recorded on Wednesday evening. I don't understand. Um, anyway, you'll know what happens. I, I don't see why he would be suspended. Uh, the charges were dropped. He wasn't punished. I mean, he has things that he has to do in court that he has to do, like community service and stuff like that. But there's really no crime committed. He didn't get a DUI. So I know a lot of people are saying, well, Kirby, this is Kirby's way of, you know, cracking down and telling people, making him an example. And then with Roger Robinson out, if ETN is suspended, the running back room not thin, it's thinner, but not a lot of experienced guys, and you're going to be asking Branson Robinson, who's off of his injury, to tote the vast majority of carries, other than Cash Jones, which
Well, or you're depending on a true freshman and Nate Frazier if all the rumblings out of Kent. But either way, to your point, it definitely starts. It's not a concern, but it's more of something to take notice of than you would have thought, right? Prior to the
yeah,
whole thing about ETN. But
yeah.
anyway,
So I mean, I don't. Do you think he's suspended?
I think he's going to play. I have no way of knowing. Obviously, nobody knows except Kirby and I guess ETN and the team. But my guess would be he's going to play. But I would also bet that he's going to be sitting out a quarter or a half, if I had to guess, because Kirby's going. He's got a. I don't know if he's that concerned about PR, but he's got a little bit of a tight walk to say, hey, look, charges were dropped. There were no legal proceedings really against him, but we went ahead and set him out anyway because we're setting a precedent to let people know that this is. And I wouldn't be surprised, even though similar, although it wasn't a DUI that we're talking about with Smile Mondin, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him set too for a half or a quarter. So I think my guess is they were both going to play, but they're going to miss a quarter to a half. Is what if I had to guess? That's what I would think.
I mean, I guess whatever. I mean, at this point, who really cares about PR and anything? Like, I don't think ETN, and Dean Legge said it, and I think he's right. If you don't have Trevor Etienne on the field and you lose because of that to Clemson, you got bigger problems. And I agree with that, but it'd make life a hell of a lot more easier, you know?
Dabo's thinking he's going to play. I don't know if you heard Dabo's comments. He said they got ETN. It's a heck of a running back. So, which if you're Dabo and the Clemson coaching staff, you're wise to probably.
Yeah, I would even if he did or didn't play, I would still rather be safe than sorry, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a bugaboo going into the game. I don't know why it's frustrating to me. I find it extremely frustrating.
If there was no issue, I mean, I guess it wouldn't be a story, but Kirby's not going to make any comments before. He's never done that. He won't even tell you who the plan is. There's no plan, Chip. So he's not going to tell the media because he doesn't want Clemson to have an unfair advantage or whatever, right?
Well, you see both teams release their depth chart.
No,
this week. Both of them, it was a blank page. It was
really?
Yeah, it had Clemson's lettering on it. It said Clemson's depth chart, and it was all white, and it said "See Clemson's media guide." And then on the other side, it was Georgia's lettering, real fancy, all white, said "See Georgia's media guide."
Yeah. They don't have to disclose it. That was another thing they're talking about with the college maybe changing, where they've got to start listing their players that aren't going to be playing in advance. But I don't know. That's obviously not in effect this year. And until you make Kirby, he ain't going to tell you nothing.
No, and I think honestly they should, because that's how you get problems with betting. By the way,
yeah.
No, and we're in that new age. All right, so let's kind of go back a little bit before we go forward. Fall camp comes to an end. Georgia relatively healthy coming out of fall camp. The only thing is Roger Grobison. He has a toe injury. He's week to week. I don't even know how long you're out with a toe. I mean, obviously he's going to miss one game. And I would assume that he's going to be out for game 2 as well against Tennessee Tech. I don't think, why would you use him if he's, a little banged up? So probably not going to see him till we play Kentucky toward the end of this, or September. Who else? Jordan Hall has had an issue with his legs, right? Stress fracture.
Yeah, he's out.
Oh, he's out for the game?
I'm pretty sure. Brinson is back in. He's been practicing.
Okay. That's about it.
Jared Wilson has been he last couple of weeks. I think he is back starting at center, so he's gotten some work there. It's not, unless something really bad happens, it's not going to be Tate Ratledge starting at center. So we got Jared. We got our offensive line. That's going to be our rotation. They're healthy. I think the wide receiver that we got from his name Colby Young, we got from Miami, was out, but he's healthy now. To your point, by and large, unless something between today's Wednesday and Friday happens, Georgia's, by comparison to the end of last year, is coming into this game extremely healthy.
And, well, here's the other thing, too. Georgia has always had a major injury. I guess the only one has been 2021, where they didn't have a major injury in fall camp. No, that's wrong. George Pickens got hurt in the 2021.
Yeah.
It always seems like we get one major injury that happens that, like, it kind of hampers the team. So far, so good in that. Reports coming out of camp, Quantavious Johnson has been a stud. Nate Frazier's been a stud. Carson Beck looks pretty sharp. There's a lot of talk on the offensive line being one of the best offensive line that Georgia's ever had. Defensive line looks okay. Not dominant, but they're going to be good enough. And then CJ Allen, I've heard, looks pretty good as well. I don't anything that you've heard.
Yeah, Jared Wilson's coming on. I think people are expecting a big year from him. Linebacker core should be solid. We're breaking in a new star, which is what's his name? Joel Aguero.
Yeah.
So he's going to be at the star position. It's going to be interesting, which I think Julian Humphreys. I think, what's the other guy?
Daniel Everett. Who are you talking about?
No, Dalen Everett's going to be playing one corner, but the other corner, you're probably going to see 3 or 4 different guys playing that position. My guess would be.
You're probably Ellis Robinson's definitely going to be playing.
Yes,
Humphrey,
and then one other guy I'm forgetting.
Is it Harris? Is that his last name?
It is, and I think some people were saying he may be the starter, but don't quote me on that. But you're going to see as many as 3, maybe more than that, playing corner opposite Everett on Saturday.
Yeah, Daniel Harris, out of Miami, and he was a 2023. He's a 4-star, number 15. Yeah, I think you're probably going to see Harris and Everett and Humphrey and
Ellis Robertson.
You're going to see KJ Bolden for sure. You're going to see Aguero, who I'm pretty high on. And you're also probably going to see Jake Pope and Dan Jackson.
Yep.
Which, I don't know. Whenever I see white defensive backs, I have a bad feeling, and I don't know if that's a good thing.
Dan should know the playbook. He's been there for years. So
Dan Jackson should.
Start. I bet you he's going to start opposite Malachi Starks, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I would probably guess that as well. But see, to me, and what now we can kind of look forward. I know we're going back and forth, but looking at this game, the game right now is a 13.5 point spread. Is that correct?
That is last time I heard.
Still,
Yeah.
let's check it just so we're 100% sure. Um, Now, well, of course, it doesn't want to work for me whenever I try to do this. Look, it's week one for everybody. Let's see.
It was 13 and a hook this afternoon at
It's
night.
still it's still 13 and a half. And the FPI, which I know everyone loves, the matchup predictor, now they changed the name of it, is 82% Georgia and 17% Clemson.
Well, where's the 1% go? 82 and 17 is not in.
I don't. Well, they're points and point like 3.7.
I guess I'm not smart enough, but I figured 82 and 17 to 99. I don't unless
I
they
don't
got,
know what I don't know. Look, I'm not ESPN. I don't know anything about
they don't
that.
have the Falcons come in and take over the dome. I got a 1% chance of leading the charge.
Maybe it's the 1% that the game doesn't get played. I don't. I have no idea why that would be.
Dome. It can't be a weather delay. So
No, the dome's closed. But anyway, look, not important. So it's a 13.5 point game. I think a lot of people, it's really funny where if you listen to the media, on one camp you have Georgia should walk in there and just beat the brakes off of Clemson. And then on the other side, you got, well, Clemson's got a lot to prove, or, they don't have a whole lot to prove. This is a team that is up there, can win the ACC. Look out, they might be good. And look, I think I'm in the camp of I suspect Georgia to handle this game pretty easily. I matchup wise, it just doesn't work for Clemson. Clemson is probably a top 10 team. I think they could be in the playoff. I think they have a really good shot, especially how with FSU looked against Tech. They have a really good shot of winning the ACC. But their best is going against our best side of the ball. Offense for Georgia is the best. Clemson's defense is really good. There's a lot of question marks in the back end of Clemson's defense. And was Georgia going to do really well this year? Throw the ball. And the same with Georgia's defense. There's questions there, but Clemson's offensive line. I mean, they can talk about all the guys that are returning. Clemson's offensive line was mediocre at best last year.
I watched the last part of the season, and that's being generous. And again, I know they were young, and they were several of their guys had already gotten hurt, and they were playing younger guys. Then I don't care if you're young or not. If you don't have the talent, and what I saw, it was not Clemson's offensive line. They would have to be a marked improvement for me to say they have a decent offensive line. They were not good.
Yeah, and then here's the other thing too. Cade Klubnik has not. He's been there for 2 years now. This is going on to his third. We've heard all about Garrett Riley whenever he left TCU to go to Clemson. And I know it was year one, but people think there's going to be this huge step. At this point, I think Cade Klubnik is who he is. And I don't think he's really all that great. The only thing that Clemson's offense does scare me is that Maffa kid, the running back. Outside that, I mean, the wide receivers, they're extremely talented. Clemson's wideouts but they're inexperienced. They're young. And I don't know, first game out of the gate in a prime time matchup in the Dome is a good chance to really show that you're so improved. So I just don't think this right now, this Clemson team, this version of Clemson can go out there and pull off the upset against Georgia.
Couple things that you said. Based on what I know, and I'm certainly not following Clemson, I did watch, like I said, towards the end of their season last year. They obviously have talent. They've done a good job of recruiting, but the depth I think is going to be a real challenge for them in a matching up with Georgia for a 4-quarter game. Their defense is super aggressive. To your point, their defense is the strength of their team. They're gonna try to get there with 4 guys, and if they're getting there with 4 guys or 5, where you got to put a hat on a hat, if you're Georgia. And the real key, I think, to the whole thing that we can get a pretty good handle on early on is let's look how Jared Wilson, our center, and our 2 guards stack up against the middle. Because if they're able to put pressure on Beck up the middle and force him to slide in the pocket and have pressure in his face, and if Jared Wilson doesn't hold up, it could be a long night for Georgia's offense, especially if we're talking about not having the running backs in there. I don't think that's going to happen, but that to me is early on. Pay attention to whether or not Jared Wilson, our center, and our 2 guards are holding up against the center of Clemson's defensive line. That's going to tell me a lot early on in the game. But to me, that's the key matchup. I'm not threatening the quarterback, and it could be a reaction to not having a very good offensive line. But to me, he doesn't. Now, he may be completely different this year, but based on what I saw last year, he doesn't stay in the pocket, and he gets rid of the ball and he throws it short of the sticks. He's not pushing the ball downfield. And I think, and he does have legs. They're not like some of the scrambling quarterbacks. He's not a Jaden Daniels, but he's okay on the leg. And honestly, I think he's better out of the pocket than he is in the pocket. So if I'm Georgia, I'm wanting to keep his butt in the pocket and make him beat me by throwing past the sticks. And I don't think they're going to be able to consistently do that. So their offense doesn't bother me, but that defensive line and the front 7 of Clemson on defense, they're no joke. They're a good, legitimate defense. So it'll be a good test. I think we'll know pretty early on whether or not we can handle business with them. And
totally.
You should know whether we're going to have any success on offense or not.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. So here's what I'll be watching in the game, and I guess Georgia fans can play along as well. I'm looking at the defensive line. Do we get any push, especially on run plays? That to me is the biggest. Outside contain is also in that category, I guess you would call it. So defensive line is a must. Now, I don't expect Georgia to get 3 sacks in the game. That's not how Georgia plays defense. Kirby Smart does not, and Glenn Schumann don't do that. So I'm not gonna be all bent out of shape if we don't get 2 sacks in the game. I'm not gonna really worry about that. What we want to see is, can the defensive line get any push? Can they contain the outside run? If they can do that, I'll feel pretty good about the season going forward. Next thing is defensive backfield. Can they hold up? Are they any good? There's a lot of question marks, but there's a ton of talent. And this is, you brought in T-Rob. You got Kirby Smart, who's one of the greatest defensive backs coach ever. Do they look up to par? Do they look like a Georgia defensive back group? We'll see. And then the next thing I want to see is on offense. I want to see the wideouts, and I want to see if they can actually be a factor. We have they're not Sunday pass catchers, but they're pretty damn good but college football wide receivers. And if I can see some explosion and, good route running, Carson Beck getting the ball out quick and converting in the red zone, then that's the biggest key. If they can throw it in the red zone, I think Georgia's going to be pretty good this year. But last year, I think the biggest part of the red zone offense that was a problem last year for Georgia was not being able to throw in the red zone.
Well, hopefully the Colby Young at 6'3" or 6'4", whatever he is, helps down there, right? And the 2 tight ends, Yorsick and Delp. So, yeah, I mean, all those things are great points. I will tell you that Clemson has a guy, I don't know his name, but he's a defensive lineman, and they move him all over.
Number 11.
Peter or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
That guy is going to be playing on Sundays. I've watched him enough to know that that's the reason I said earlier about the center and the guard play. He can create some havoc. And I think they got a really good linebacker on defense. So I'm with you. I want to see our offense click. I'm more worried about consistently moving the ball and putting points up against the Clemson and see him, because I don't Clemson's offense, unless they've changed dramatically and the quarterback's gotten a lot more confidence in throwing it downfield. The Clemson offense does not scare me.
Right.
But I'm also not playing on Saturday. I recognize that, but I don't think they're that great. They're certainly not going to be one of the better offenses we play, i.e. Ole Miss, Auburn. So if they give us trouble, unless we mature quickly with a lot of these young players, it's going to be a long-ass season. We better be able to score points.
Yeah, we better. All right. Let's talk about this real quick. I didn't bring it up, and then we'll talk about, I guess, players to watch, and then we'll get into our score predictions. So I noticed it last week whenever I was watching Florida State and Georgia Tech play in Ireland. And then I was like, well, that's kind of weird. And then I watched, who was it? It was Nevada. Who was Nevada playing?
I forgot. It was on too late for me, man. I didn't watch.
Whoever the hell Nevada was playing, SMU and Nevada and SMU. All right, so I watched both games, and I noticed that the play clock is a major issue, and something's got to be fixed. So last year we went to the clock doesn't stop after first downs; it continues to roll. Fine, whatever. I hate the rule, but it is
within the fourth quarter and within 2 minutes. Is that right?
So yes, that was the rule, and then now it's clock doesn't stop at all until the 2-minute warning. They call it timeout, and then that's whenever the clock stops for first downs. Fine, whatever, new rule, get it. The problem is in the NFL, because that's where this rule's coming from. In the NFL, as soon as the guy gets tackled, they blow the whistle and the guys start to get up. That play clock, that 40-second shot clock, it comes on. So far in college football, it's been at least 8 seconds, maybe even more, 10, 20, 30 seconds after the play where the clock doesn't come on at all.
We're waiting for the refs to spot the ball. I mean, is that
it doesn't matter if that's the thing. It doesn't matter if the ref spots the ball or not. Even in the NFL, as soon as they get up, that clock goes on, because you got to have the play in. That's the whole point of and go. And so it doesn't matter if the ref is spotting the ball or not, unless the refs call a timeout for like spotting the ball or a measurement or something that's going on. So Georgia Tech had the ball in the fourth quarter for 6 minutes. They got an additional minute and a half, basically, where they could just sit on the ball and do nothing at all because the play clock wasn't running. That's a major problem. And we're talking about limited possessions in a football game, especially in college football. Florida State, I think, had 6 or 7 possessions. I know Tech only had 6. I mean, you're talking about trying to be perfect for a college football team.
Well, it also tells you scoring is going to be down if that holds true all year, right?
Right. Yeah. Unless you like blow a team out and get turnovers and stuff like that. Yeah. But it's a major problem. It's something just to keep your eye on in this game, because if Clemson's offense isn't doing really good and Georgia's getting a short field every time, this game can be over really quickly, because the amount of time and the amount of possessions Clemson has won't equal the amount of points they need to get back into the game, or vice versa for Georgia.
Yeah, I was about to say let's Let's hope it works in our favor, not the other way.
Right.
It's going to
So
be hard for teams to come back, is what I'm also hearing you say.
yes, yes, it's going to be if you're down by 17 in the fourth quarter, it's going to be really hard for you to come back. And 17 points in the fourth quarter, especially in college football, that isn't that big of a margin. It used to not be, but now it's going to be. It's going to be hard for teams to come back. So just keep an eye on that. All right, players to watch in this game. You go ahead. Pick a couple of guys that you want to see.
Well, I'm gonna go with a guy that we talked about. I want to see what Aguero at the star position is gonna do. We've been hearing about him. He was highly sought after. So on defense, I want to see him. I want to see who settles into that other corner spot opposite Everett and see how that happens. But then on offense, it's going to be boring. But I'm going to be looking at Jared Wilson. And, we kind of took it for granted for the last several years of having a guy that is absolutely deserving of playing on Sundays of Cedric Van Pran. It's going to be real interesting to see how he holds up. And I know he got to play some last year. I get that. But this is going to be a big test for him. And Clemson's D-line, as I mentioned earlier, they're for real. So those are just some of the things I'm watching. Our center, our star, and then who's going to be playing corner. Those are three positions I'm looking at.
So this is what I want to see. I want to see Mykel Williams and Jalen Walker. Mykel, whenever he came in here, I was riding high because I didn't even know who he was when I first saw him in person. I went, oh my God, we just got the new Lawrence Taylor. And I mean, everyone's predicting him to be a first round pick, but I mean, I haven't seen it yet. So him and Jalen Walker, I hear a lot, about what their ability and the talent and what they can do, and then you see it. There has been flashes. Can they put it together for a whole season? This is game one. This is where you can put it together. So I want to see the edge guys. I want to see them. I want to see if they can make an impact, and then if they can, I'll be thrilled at what the prospects look like for the rest of the year. Next thing is I want to see Nate Fred. I want to see I'm just going to put running back core. I want to see everybody. Branson Robinson. If ETN plays, I want to see ETN. Nate Frazier. Chauncey Bowens. I want to see everybody. Cash Jones. Maybe not him, but everybody else. I want to see the running back room. I want to see what it looks like. I hear a lot of positive things coming out of fall camp. Let's see if it's real. Let's see if it's a legit thing. And the next thing is I want to see Urasek, the tight end from Stanford that came in. Hasn't had a whole lot of time on campus. I've seen him play at Stanford. He does a lot of things that Brock Bowers did. The sweeps with the runs and the screens and all that. So he looks pretty good. He's not obviously Brock Bowers. No one ever will be. But he does similar stuff. Could he be an impact with our Oscar Delp? I want to see him, and I have high hopes for him, but he hasn't played in the SEC. Clemson's pretty much the closest you can get outside of the SEC playing an SEC team. So let's see if he's any good. Also, fun fact for you, and they might say it in the broadcast, Urasek, however the hell you pronounce his last name, grandfather invented the baby carrot. So there you go. There's a fun factoid for you.
I didn't know a baby carrot was invented. I thought it was just a cut carrot.
Well, he invented how to make a cut for the baby carrot. So,
all right,
good for him. All right, so everyone's favorite. We're toward the end of the show. This year, we're actually gonna keep track this year of score predictions. It was very loosey goosey. It was year one. We're now into year two. We're trying to make it a little bit more official. Let's do your. I don't know. We'll have some reward. I don't know what we'll do, but it has to be content, obviously. But whoever gets the best gets some sort of prize, and whoever loses has to do something. So we'll hold ourselves to that.
All right. I don't know. Depending on what the punishment is going to be, the pressure is going to be a lot higher. Like I'm not going to do it fully nude.
Well, we can't put that on YouTube.
Enough nausea medicine out there for the viewers. That was the case. But anyway.
All right. Go ahead and give your score prediction because I have no idea.
Georgia 37, Clemson 20. We win by 17.
20. All right. So I think I said this in our prediction or our season preview. This is a type of game where you look up and you go, "Oh wow, this game's kind of tight." And if you're a Georgia fan, it's a little uncomfortable. You're sweating it out, and then all of a sudden you look up and it's like midway third quarter, and it's like 27-6. You're like, "What? Huh? What happened here?" I think that this is going to be one of those. It's almost going to be like last year or the last time we played Clemson. Georgia really pounded, dominated that game. They only won by a touchdown, and it was like, what? Huh? How did that happen? Why is it so tight? So I just don't know if Clemson's offense, when it gets in the red zone, can they punch it in? And can they do that over and over again to win? I don't think they can until proven otherwise. So I like Georgia scoring 40. I do, but it's just so unrealistic. But last year, every score I picked for Georgia was 42 to something, right? So we'll keep that theme going. I think Georgia wins 42. 42-17. I think that's within margin, right?
Yeah.
I would think so. I think Georgia wins 42-17. If Clemson had an offense that could punch it into the red zone and go on sustained drives, I'd be a little bit more worried about this game. I'm just not. I think depth, like you said, depth is going to be a problem. And I think by the time we get to the third quarter, about midway through, you're going to look up and Georgia's going to have at least a 2 to 3 possession lead. And you're going to be like, what the hell? How did that happen?
Well, let me tell you one other thing. Heisman Trophy and stats be damned. If Kirby Smart gets it in the second half and he's up, given the factors, by the way, he was on the rules committee, I'm pretty sure. So I would hope and I would imagine Kirby has a pretty good handle on these rules. And we find out we can run the ball, we might as well be playing with a deflated beach volleyball because he won't get a chance. Carson Beck will not get a chance to put up any stats. It's going to be a run and run the clock out. If you see Georgia up by 2 scores, 10 points starting in the third quarter, running backs better start loosening up, is my prediction. Kirby is going to run them.
Yeah, if we can hold Clemson's offense and we can run a little bit, we might as well start playing the wing tee and put in leather helmets because that's exactly what we're going to do. All right, before we go, another bet that I would put in, whatever Dylan Bell, I don't even know if it'll be listed, but whatever Dylan Bell's amount of carries are for the game, like actual running back carries, I would take the over on that because I think if Etienne does miss any time, I suspect Dylan Bell's going to at least tote the rock once or twice.
I would take the under on that. So we'll see which one's right on that too. I just don't think he's been practicing back there. And I don't think – we don't know because we don't watch practice. But by all indications, they feel pretty good about the running back room they haven't had him practicing out there. So we'll see. We'll see if that's true.
All right. Maybe I know stuff that you don't know. I don't know.
All right.
All right. You got – by the way, you want to make some other scores before we go? Miami, Florida. Not a score prediction, but who wins?
They're playing in the Swamp?
Yeah, 3:30.
You know what?
It's torturous.
Just because I think he's so close to getting fired, and I'd love to see Cristobal get on the hot seat down there, so we can with Coley win South Florida and recruiting, not have to worry about Miami. I'm gonna pull for Florida, and I never pull for Florida, so I'm not gonna pull for them, but I'm kind of hoping Florida beats them.
I think Miami wins that game. I do. I like that quarterback that they got, Cam Ward. All right. Let's see. Is there any other marquee game? I mean, Notre Dame
and Notre Dame.
Yeah. What do you think about that one? I was about
I
to
think
say
Texas
that.
A&M is going to stop the shit out of them. Is what I
You
think.
do?
I do.
Really?
At home, yes. First game for that Eldridge guy. It's been a really Elko, whatever his name is. It's been a really quiet offseason at Texas A&M
for the first time in forever.
Yeah, exactly. So to me, I think Texas A&M. Honestly, the more I started thinking about it, I picked LSU. I want to see what they have. I'm really curious, but I think Texas A&M is going to hand it to Notre Dame. That's what I think.
See. We're going to be well. I guess we'll know both. I think it's really hard to ask a first year head coach a huge game, marquee opponent to win that game. It's going to be a hard.
Notre Dame boys are going to. I think they're going to absolutely melt.
Yeah, and then we'll talk about the USC LSU game because we'll do a recap probably Sunday. We'll probably do a recap Sunday evening. Probably do a recap of the game. All right, and then Penn State, West Virginia. By the way, I'm not that high on Penn State. They burned me last year. West Virginia, I think, is actually pretty good. I think they've put together pretty good recruiting classes. I like their coach a lot. West Virginia, big upset. Beats Penn State at home.
Because I have no idea, and I don't like the James Franklin guy from his days of Vanderbilt. Are you talking about getting the most publicity out of doing nothing? It's James Franklin.
Massive.
Yeah, I'll just because I'll take West Virginia. I don't know shit about them, but I don't like James Franklin, so there you go.
And by the way, and then we'll end it. Florida State plays Boston College on Labor Day at home. What happens if they lose to Boston College? It might get really ugly really fast in Tallahassee.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. They got. I know this is not what we're talking about in fuck Tech, but Tech physically whipped their ass.
Yeah,
Florida State was supposedly bigger, deeper. I didn't see any of that translate. You talk about a culture problem, and I know we're doing that off seeing what happened at FSU when everybody abandoned ship like a bunch of rats and didn't play in the bowl game. But whatever that is, I don't know what it is, but I saw it again on Saturday when Tech beat them. It's a lack of heart. And what's your why? Because I think in the third and fourth quarter, after Tech had been leading on those boys, they didn't know why anymore.
Yeah, well, and we got crushed on that whenever we talked about that after the Orange Bowl. What a joke! And they have actual cultural problems. Florida State fans were very mad at us.
Well, I don't give a shit.
Guess what? I'm not too worried about it.
But prove me wrong. I mean, you get your ass handed to it, and half your players don't show up for a pretty meaningful bowl game, and then you come out and lay an egg against Georgia Tech. By the way, 2 years ago they were running the triple option or whatever the hell that is.
Well, it was 2 years ago. It was quite a long time ago at this point.
With offensive linemen that weighed about as much as I do. So,
All right. So you have Georgia winning 37-20. I have Georgia winning 42-17. We both have Georgia winning comfortably. Let's hope it's comfortable. Hopefully nothing terrible happens. Nothing big happens. Hopefully Georgia wins. We'll talk to you you'll probably see the video Monday after the game, doing a recap of it. And then obviously we have the big game coming up with Tennessee Tech. I'm glad football season's here. As Kirby says, I got a lot of respect for all these teams that we're about to play, all 12 of them. Got a ton of respect for their program. So I'm glad football's back. We're here. We finally made it. Been a long off season. So let's hopefully Georgia, another national championship.
I agree.
All right. What a way to end it. Good topic. All right. See everybody on the other side.
Remember to like and subscribe if you've listened this long. So it takes just a quick second. It would really mean a lot to us.
Yep. Like, subscribe, comment, follow us on Terminus Sports. I was so excited about football season. I just was about to end the whole thing. Like and subscribe, Terminus Sports _ATL on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. We're big on TikTok still, big on Twitter. We're starting to get a little bit more of a following. And then Unishippers, check us out or check them out there. Why don't you give us a
Unishippers Atlanta. We work with small to medium-sized businesses on helping with their shipping need, anything from small packages that would normally go FedEx and UPS all the way up to less than truckload and full truckload. So feel free to give us a call and ask for Holland Martin, Unishippers Atlanta.
All right, shout out Holland, shout out college football season. We'll see everybody on the other side.